Wow, what could be better than having some risotto with shrimps and saffron? Nothing better. So that's what we're going to do today. These are all the ingredients laid out here. The arborio rice, little cayenne pepper, onion, real saffron threads, and don't get fooled sometimes when you find something that's cheaper. This vial I get at a good price, and this was $10. And I don't think I'm going to use all of this. I'll probably use about half that amount. I'll see how it looks when I mix this, when I chop this up with the onion to start getting all the flavor out of it. And butter, garlic, sea salt, and we needed a 1 quart of fish stock. And if you don't have fish stock, you can make a vegetable stock. You could use chicken stock, but since it's a seafood item, I go with fish stock. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to peel the shrimps, put all the shells into the fish stock, simmer that for about 15 minutes, get the flavor of the shrimp into the fish stock, even more than if it was just the shrimps alone in the rice. There are many ways of putting this dish together. I prefer doing it like this. This is the way I cook all my seafood when it's going into rice. I blanch the seafood, or I saute the seafood. Then I mix it to the finished rice at the end. This way, I'm going to get a lot of flavor into the stock. But first we cut the shrimps down the back. And I'm going rather deep. And you see that black that's in there? You're going to wash that out. And I'm going deep because after these cook, they're going to give a nice appearance. They're going to curl up like this and look like that. Just the way when you go to a Chinese restaurant and you have chicken chow mein or other dishes. So go deep, wash it, and then we'll take up the next step. Now into the fish stock, I'm going to put 1 cup of white wine. Now it really doesn't matter when you add the wine. I add the wine sometimes when I'm cooking the arborio rice. So does it really matter as long as it gets in there? Now as soon as this starts to simmer, I'm going to put the shrimps in there. And I'm going to also add the sea salt in here so that the shrimps will have a flavor coming out of the stock. So that's 1 nice teaspoon in there. And you can use whatever size shrimp you want. These are 21-25 count to a pound. You can go 16-20s, nice and large. And then you can go 15 and unders, which are extremely large. Take a little more time to cook this way, but they look beautiful on the plate. And then you could also go for the even smaller shrimp. So it all depends on your budget and how you view and how the shrimps will look on the plate later. So now that it's boiling, I'm gonna poach the shrimps off. Why? Because it'll make it easier for me later. When the rice is completely done, I'll have very little adjustment to do except just add the shrimps, which are not going to be overcooked because this is only going to take about a minute or two. Because when we put it into the rice later, it will finish cooking. The time that it takes to heat up, they'll finish cooking. And as I said, if you notice the shape of the shrimps now, when you cut them deep, look how nice that is. We're not going to go much longer with this. And the reason why is because your timing is critical. You have to know when to put the shrimps, the raw shrimps, into the rice so the shrimps aren't overcooked and the rice is done. And then you want the rice to come out perfect, nice and creamy. So I find that doing it like this, it just simplifies matters. And all the good flavor is in there. So I might as well put the bay leaves in there also. And I'll leave the bay leaves in there because the next step after I take out the shrimps, we're going to put the peelings in there. And the peelings have an awful lot of flavor. So we're going to wind up with a very tasty stock even before we even start cooking. And everything else that goes in there, we're going to add to the flavor. It's just about boiling, and then again I would eat them just like this. So there, we're ready. And we'll just keep these off to the side. See how nice they curl up, how nicely curled they are, and they'll give a nice appearance in the rice when we have this for dinner tonight. The bay leaves stay in there. I'll put all the peelings, and that's a lot. That's a pound of shrimp, so that's a lot of flavor right there. And I'll just simmer that for about 15 minutes. And we started off with a quart of stock. Whatever it boils down to is irrelevant because the flavor is there, concentrated. So as we're cooking the rice, we're not going to look to add more stock because we have the flavor that we want. If anything, we'll be adding the cream to it, and we'll be adding water if necessary. So we'll let this simmer for about 15 minutes, and then we'll continue. Well, it's been a few minutes. Now I'm going to add the arborio rice. And you know, you got to stay with this. Using a non-stick skillet, it just makes life easier. And hopefully it'll be large enough to take all of the liquid that I plan on pouring into that. So now that we've stirred this up nicely, we're going to add some of the stock. Raise the flame. I want to have this to steadily cook, and not too fast and not too slow. Just about like so. And also at a point I'm going to add, you don't have to, but I'm going to add 1 cup of either light cream or heavy cream to this. Now a lot of recipes don't use cream, but I can't help myself. It just tastes so good. So what we're going to do, I don't want to waste the film, because as you see, it's going to reduce. So as it reduces, we're going to add a little more liquid. And I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes and see how we do. So notice it's reduced a little bit. Okay. So we're going to add a little more of the stock. In the next addition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the cream. So I want to make sure I get the cream in there. I will get everything in there. The stock, after I drained it, came out to be about 3/4 of a quart. So just keep on stirring as it reduces. Add a little more, and when it's done, it should be just about like this, the consistency, nice and creamy. So keep on doing this. As you see, I have a moderate flame, and it's reducing. Now I'm going to add some cream. And now just continue doing the same thing. And part of the recipe, but since I'm having broccoli tonight, what I'm going to do, and it's frozen broccoli, and I'm going to put this right into the risotto at the same time I put the shrimps. Give it a stir and then serve. Okay, it's been a half hour. You'll hear the buzzer off in a second. And we've used up all the fish stock and the cream. So now we'll add some water. That was the half hour mark. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to have enough room to mix everything in here, so I'm going to place the shrimp and the broccoli in another pot, pour this over, make it much easier for me. So I will no longer be cooking the risotto, it's done. And at the same time I'll add the cheese and the parsley or basil, and I've chosen basil today. Well, it's been about 38 minutes. So now the last step is to get the shrimps with the rice. I'm going to put the shrimps in first. We'll add the rice. Look how nice and creamy that is. Oh, very nice. And the last two items, the cheese and the parsley or the basil, and I'm using basil. It looks good and it's going to taste good. And now we'll put it on a plate. It's simmering. Everything in there is hot. And now that texture is just right. Look at that. Nice and creamy. Enjoy.